Hello, everyone. I wanted to go over the media bias and fake news activity for this week. So when you click on it, it's going to look very similar to the reliable or not activity that we did last week that was in that table with a bunch of links. So you'll see here that you're going to open up the bias and activity document. Unlike last week, I changed the Schoology submission format because it was like really weird and offset and stuff. But it's at the very bottom of this video that highlights how to submit on Schoology, which you guys all know by now. I just like to include it. So you're going to open it up and you're going to read the instructions. So let's go ahead and click that. It's obviously going to prompt you to make a copy. And you'll see that it's going to show you a table. So media bias. So you're going to use the chart and the websites provided down below and choose a current news story. And you're going to be using this news story for every single source that you'll be looking at. And this can be any kind of story as long as it's current. You can do something about, it could be about COVID, it can be about taxes, it can be about the upcoming election, it can be about water rights, it can be whatever you find interesting, go ahead and choose that. But just make sure it's current, right? You don't want to choose a story or a topic from like 2013. It can be climate change, whatever. And so our main goal is to compare how different media outlets chose to cover this same story. So again, make sure you are choosing one story that you're going to research throughout this project, or not project, but assignment. So looking at the instructions, again, highlighted, you must choose one media outlet from each category or these boxes down below, and you're gonna click on the media outlet name to access the site. So you'll see here is ranged from a spectrum of very conservative all the way to very liberal. And underneath each of these labels, you'll see that there are bullet points of sources for you to look at. So if you just click on the title, I've linked all of them. So even though they're black and they're not blue, they're all linked. So all you need to do is choose one from each category. So you'll see here first, this is where you're going to type in, above these colored boxes, type in the news story that you're going to choose to research. And it doesn't need to be a full sentence. I'm just looking for the topic that you're going to search within each of these sites. So let's say I was doing climate change. That's where I would put that there. And then underneath this, you're going to see a table, if it scrolls, that has questions on the left and things for you to fill in on the right for each category that you research. So source used, right? So you're just gonna do it here. I'm not looking for a sentence, just put it down. So let's say you use the Drudge Report for very conservative, New York Post, C-SPAN, CNN here, and then, I don't know, BuzzFeed News for here. So you're just gonna put the name of the site that you used. And then underneath that, you'll see that we have the 3 C's of lateral reading that we went over last week, right? Context, credibility, and construction. So if you remember, context is what the article is about, right? So here, you're going to do article and date. That can be bullet pointed. But what is the article talking about? 2 to 3 sentences. And you may think it's redundant to do that for if the stories are all the same for each source, but I think you're going to be surprised how the context for each of these stories differs, right? That's the point of looking at the context. How does it differ? Article, date, and author, right? Credibility, and that's what you're going to do here. And then you can just number your responses in this box. But does the site have a reputation as a false news site? And remember, that was stuff that we looked at last week. How do you find that out? You got to go laterally, right? You got to reach out and look up what other people are saying about these sites. Does the author cite credible sources? Is it an advertisement posing as a news story? That's stuff that you're going to look at for credibility for each of these sources. Construction. Identify 2 to 3 words or phrases on the article uses that shows bias and explain why you think the author used them. Right? The author says this is loaded language in order to get an emotional response from the audience. Something like that. Can you distinguish between fact and opinion? This is just yes, I can, no, I can't. 3, how does the author support their argument? Stats, facts, testimonials. Are those absent and you don't see those all together? Underneath that, what is the main argument or main point the article is trying to make, 1 to 2 sentences, and you should be making these for each source. Again, although it's all the same story, you need to do these steps for each source because it's going to vary depending on the media source, right? Lastly, do you find this source trustworthy? Why or why not would you use this site again? And that question should be very familiar to you from the reliable or not activity that you did in the table. So this is very similar, right? So again, you're going to choose one source from each of these categories, searching the same story that you posted in this yellow box. Then you're going to complete each of these columns according to the source that you chose, highlighting the context, the credibility, and construction of each source, and the main argument and whether or not you find it trustworthy. I hope you guys have fun with this. I think it's going to be a cool activity to see how different news outlets report on the same story. So, all right, I'll see you guys later.